Good afternoon and welcome to the Luxembourg Private Equity Venture Capital Stories. Today's guest will be Akikul Islam, Head of Strategy and Fundraising at Alpha Private Equity. Hi Aki, how are you?
I'm good, thanks for having me, Stefan.
It's a great pleasure. And how is London?
London is good. We just got out of the lockdown and restaurants are opening. Well, we can sit outside, so slowly going back to normal, which is good.
Great, sounds really promising. Let's then copy that good result.
Yes.
Now then, let's start our interview together. As usual, you can ask your questions via the chat function, the Q&A button, and we will also leave then a few seconds at the end in order then to discuss those with yourself, dear audience. So, Aki, what can you tell us about your firm? How, when, and who started the Alpha Private Equity Adventure?
Well, Alpha was mostly owned by Marine Wendel, a French holding company of the Wendel family when it was established 36 years ago, back in 1985. But we are now an independent pan-European private equity firm. We have offices in Luxembourg, Paris, Milan, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam. The firm is headed by two managing partners, Eduardo Lanzavecchie, based in Milan, and Patrick Herman, who's based in Paris. Eduardo has around 30 years of private equity experience and founded Carlyle Group Italy back in 1998. And he's considered one of Europe's most successful private equity investors. And we have Patrick Herman, has over 30 years of operating experience, having worked on several of our portfolio companies in senior management for over 2 decades before joining the Alpha team in 2016. What I was going to say, we invest in mid-market buyouts throughout continental Europe, focused on Italy, France, Germany, Switzerland, and Benelux. We have over 25 years, we've deployed 3.1 billion euros across 7 funds, representing around 110 deals. And currently we're investing our 7th fund.
Wow, great and very robust experience and track records. Could you also give us more details on the core philosophy of your group?
Yeah, we support the most, I would say, the most ambitious and talented entrepreneurs and businesses to achieve their goals. And by helping management teams create long-lasting value, we in turn help create value for our investors. We are a business builder committed to investing in well-positioned businesses that have the potential to improve operationally, strategically, financially. And we have a reputation as intensive managers who do huge amounts of work to drive returns. And we focus on sectors and situations that we know well and where we've delivered returns in the past. We focus on proprietary deals and mainly primary family-owned businesses. And these family owners, entrepreneurs, are typically seeking either generational or inter-partner liquidity events, as well as growth capital that requires both a financial partner and, more importantly, a skilled operator to continue to grow the business. And for us, primary deals do present more options for value creation. That doesn't mean you're paying less because owners understand the value of their businesses, but it does mean you have the ability to create more value throughout the whole period. And for us, reputation is everything. If the market knows what deals you like and that you do what you say you do, then the right deals will come to you first. And a strong example is in Italy for us. We're focused on primary deals, and every intermediary with a deal that fits our criteria will get in touch with us. So it's very rare for a deal that matches our strategy not to come to our attention. And we have a very clear focus on majority control transactions, simply because we believe that control over key decisions is critical, which is why Alpha invests in companies where you can lead the management team and also be on the board, being in control of the value creation drivers and control of exit timing, it's extremely important for us. And we work very closely with our portfolio companies to create this kind of step change in value by executing an expansion strategy, or a plan, if you will, that has been discussed and agreed with management at the time of investment. So we're all aligned and reaching the same target and goals.
Great, excellent. We also like that value creation part, certainly also the reputational angle. Within those firms, any specific sectors you're particularly following and investing in?
We are generally opportunistic, and we prefer to focus first on a deal's merits without any particular industry focus. However, in practice, we do favor deals where we have a deeper understanding of the assets and the respective industries. We have repeatedly invested in specific sectors from one fund to another, first because of the experience acquired in previous deals, and second because sellers tend to bring us deals in sectors where Alpha has been successful in the past. I would say the four main sectors that we focus on and have had consistent success are industrial manufacturing, consumer leisure, fashion and design, service and distribution.
If we now take a step back, Alpha Private Equity, what's the setup looking like? How many persons work for the firm globally, and where are they mainly located?
So we have 4 partners, which include the 2 managing partners, which I mentioned at the beginning. The team is split between the investment team, then you have the corporate function, and then investor relations team, which I'm part of. There are 23 people in the firm globally, with the 5 offices in Luxembourg, Paris, Milan, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam, where we have a kind of a wide range of European nationalities and languages. But I would say that the team is mainly located in the 3 geographies, Paris, Milan, and Luxembourg.
You mentioned the Luxembourg office. So with which license and operating model are you here locally?
So concerning the Luxembourg office, we have, just to give you a little background, we have six people in the Luxembourg office. So I would say over a quarter of the global team is based in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is our registered office and head office. The management company, investor relations, back office functions are centralized in Alpha's Luxembourg office. Our 2 most recent funds, Funds 6 and 7, they've been incorporated as a Luxembourg SICA, which is regulated by the CSSF, and we're also AFIM compliant. We have the necessary setup in place in Luxembourg, given the SICA. For instance, we have an appointed depository, transfer agents, paying agents, and also having audited annual reports carried out by an authorized independent auditor. We have conducting officers, which include a risk manager and a compliance officer, a portfolio manager, and also an internal valuer. And then we have our board of managers of the GP, where they review new investments, exits, internal policies, etc.
Last year, the entire industry and the LPA were all hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. What about Alpha Private Equity? What happened last year on your side?
Well, what can I say? I mean, 2020 was a very strange year for everybody. But however, in the most challenging circumstances, our management teams and their employees have worked extremely hard to protect the business and put them in a strong position for future growth. And since the start of the pandemic, we've been working even closely with our management teams to help them assess risks and make strategic decisions. I'm pleased to say that our deals have performed extremely well during 2020, despite, for instance, some manufacturing facilities being shut down, given state government decisions. Markets declined sharply, and at the beginning of the pandemic in early 2020, our focus has been on raising cash, retaining capital expenditures, and securing business continuity wherever possible. And having prioritized, the number one thing is the safety of our employees first. Our main concern then was, maintaining the long-term value of our portfolio and its capacity to recover quickly. And I think it's safe to say, in my opinion, that the macro environment is still uncertain, especially in Europe. But we take a lot of comfort from how our portfolio companies have weathered through the pandemic, and the strong recovery in trading from most of our companies, and also in comparison with their peers. So we closed 2020 with very good momentum. Our most recent fund portfolio was up 23% from previous quarter and also year on year. So, and we believe we are in a stronger position, even stronger position for 2021. The current trading figures in January, February, March of this year is already trading above budget for most of our companies. So we feel positive for a good performance this year, and also expect the strong recovery to continue.
And concerning your operations, all digital nowadays?
Yes, all, we're trying to put a heavy reliance on digitalisation. We have a French company called CVG who has a large part of the revenue in digitalisation, which has helped when people have been inside their homes. A lot of people have been doing a lot more shopping, and so we're putting heavy emphasis on that throughout the portfolio.
And sustainable finance, ESG, is always seen as a huge opportunity also for Luxembourg. What is Alpha Private Equity's policy and strategy on that specific topic? How active and ready are you?
ESG is an extremely important area of focus for Alpha. Alpha, we are responsible investors. We take our ESG obligations very seriously. We want to make a positive impact on the world around us through our investments. We strongly believe that factoring a broad set of ESG considerations into our investment strategy, we can improve the financial performance of our portfolio companies and make our portfolio companies more attractive to potential buyers. And at the same time, we are reducing our investors' exposure to reputational risk, which I'm sure they're very happy about. We are signatories of the UN Principles on Responsible Investing, UNPRI, and we are making ESG part of the DNA of Alpha, which is demanding. I've got to say, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's an absolutely necessary endeavor. And at the core of our business and fundamental to Alpha's culture, there is an appreciation of the connection between a robust ESG management and the long-term profitability of companies. And in our ESG policy, which you will find on our website, for those that are interested, we commit to communicate and promote acceptance of ESG principles and do our best to implement ESG quality standards within the portfolio companies we are investing in through close cooperation with the management. And I think every business will have ESG challenges, risks they need to consider. And we are convinced that integrating ESG factors into investments is not only good for society and environment, it's simply good business. And we've also set up a monitoring campaign where we carry out extensive reviews of our portfolio companies we've invested in, and also new target investments through specific ESG due diligences. And to give you an example, Alpha, one of our companies, Laminam, it's the world leading manufacturer of large size ceramic slabs. In Italy, we have supported the company in preparing its first sustainability report and sustainability action plan. And in order to integrate these ESG issues within each step of our investment practices, we've appointed an ESG team internally. This team takes overall responsibility for the execution and continuing development of the ESG policy. And the team ensures that the ESG considerations play a role at each stage of the investment process, as well as during the whole investment period and during exit. And lastly, on ESG reporting, which is very important, we have a set reporting standards that we uphold to. One is having an ESG acquisition report each binding decision to invest in a new company must be approved only with this support of this acquisition report, similar with the ESG exit report. And then we have our annual ESG report about each of our portfolio company.
That's really music to our ears when we hear such passionate and detailed description concerning how to implement ESG. If we now take the helicopter view of the Luxembourg ecosystem and infrastructure, what could or should we upgrade further? What do you think?
That's a very good question. So how do I see Luxembourg's ecosystem infrastructure right now? I mean, the good thing about Luxembourg is that it's extremely international. I think 40 to 50%, don't hold me to that figure, but 40 to 50% of the population is international, which is incredible. And you will meet people all across the world speaking all types of languages. It's a great place, I think, to develop your international career. It's in the center of Europe, bordering with Germany, Belgium and France. So it's easy to get to other countries, a couple of hours drive to Brussels, to Paris, to Amsterdam. And also those who are there in Luxembourg, the airport is 10 to 15 minutes away from the city center. It's a well-connected airport, so you can get to other countries easily. And I think another positive, which many people don't think about, but I think in this time and age, it's a good thing to know, is the crime rate. It's a very safe country. And a fun fact, or it might not be fun, but it's a fact, it's one of the safest countries in the world. The crime rates in Luxembourg are impressively low. It was, I think last time I saw that, it was 0.34 per 100,000. And if you compare it to other European countries, they're at 1.2 or above. And, the US is at 5.3 or something along the lines of that. There was a back office mentality in Luxembourg, but it's been growing more to middle office roles for the past couple of years. And now we're seeing some PE houses also now developing front office roles in Luxembourg. And the opportunity that we have in Luxembourg is, the growth in the PE sector will be there, and investors will look for growth in returns in this asset class. So there's massive growth opportunity for Luxembourg, given the growth in PE and what can be done. And also there is an opportunity to move up the value chain, big opportunities to attract more investor relations and front office DLT makers. And your kind of second part of the question is, what can be done further to improve the ecosystem and infrastructure? I think we need to communicate more about the attractiveness of Luxembourg for businesses. Key is to attract young talent in Luxembourg, not PE but in general. For instance, having partnerships with universities globally about promoting Luxembourg as a dynamic, international, entrepreneurial business center, which it is, will be extremely helpful. When I was at university, I only saw exciting opportunities in London, Paris, Hong Kong, Singapore, New York, and Luxembourg wasn't among those. So, and employers can also do their bit in terms of really helping their employees facilitate their relocation to Luxembourg, helping them, a place to live. And as I said, universities can be a big influence in providing international degrees in Luxembourg. Now I know there's bilingual degrees that they can do. So it's a great place to come to Luxembourg to study and really take up a second language or improve your French, your English. And I think, kudos to you, Stefan, you and the LPA. You're doing a phenomenal job in actually making those things happen, from having, I think, your first job fair last month, where young graduates from all over the world can get access to employees based in Luxembourg for PE and VC, and to educating people in private equity. I mean, it's, I saw on your website, you have an event coming up soon, which people should definitely join, which is a joint partnership with the Sacred Heart University of Luxembourg, educating people in private equity. So the things that you are doing now is definitely will have an impact.
Thanks a lot for this very realistic and positive description. We will pass the message for sure, and we will not hesitate, Aki, to invite you certainly for the next job fair as a speaker and also for different promotional actions. But really great to share also your insights on Luxembourg. Now, this is the second part of our interview. We are now becoming a little bit more personal. So, Aki, what did you study and where did you start your career?
Oh, well, I studied mathematics at Oxford University. I've always loved maths and was glad to do that. I had the opportunity to do that. You meet, people with brilliant minds, and a really great place to make friends and study. And I started my kind of professional career with RBS as a banking graduate. In a banking graduate program where you did a couple of rotations on your desk, and it was very useful for me because it gave me a chance to figure out what exactly I wanted to do in kind of investment banking. I ended up in corporate loan origination for a couple of years, then the syndicate team helping to price loans, and also the sales team where you're responsible maintaining contact with market investors to help successfully syndicate those loans. I left RBS just because RBS was a huge machine, and only kind of the managing directors would be meeting the clients. The juniors would be stuck in front of the computer doing these kind of pricing and presentations. But it was the couple of years that I had there, it was great in terms of my my learning curve was steep. It was my first introduction to the financial markets. So I definitely recommend people to start your career and be able to be open to learning quickly, and genuinely be interested in the financial markets. And I wanted some client interaction. I had a few friends in different PE houses who recommended to do infrastructure, private credit, private equity, but I was I was unsure what to do, so I worked for two kind of leading placement agents, Park Hill and Eaton Partners. Had great years in both of the placement agents, where I had access to all types of different managers in the alternative space, and then from there had worked with Alpha as a client, and knew the team well, and joined them.
Congratulations, great success. You are head of strategy and fundraising at Alpha Private Equity, as mentioned. Could you share with our community and audience what those tasks entail on a day-to-day basis?
Part of my job is to establish relationship with our existing investors and new investors, and also lead a fundraising process. And also it involves solving problems across a variety of areas, from regulation, structuring to marketing the fund. And also another part of my role is supporting a strategic analysis of new product opportunities, avenues for us to consider, and also supporting preparation of fund accounts and creating reporting for our investors to give clarity on portfolio developments.
You also previously mentioned, Luxembourg moving from a back office specialist into more middle management, and now also touching the front office space. You highlighted also, for example, the investor relations or the fundraising activities. Those jobs and functions, they are growing in Luxembourg. Does it make sense to locate them in Luxembourg? And do you see any obstacle? Why not?
Yes, high level, yes, it does make sense. I think the wide remit of the IR role requires working closely with various internal teams, such as accounting, finance, legal, compliance, operations, including the senior management. So pulling together all the necessary resources to ensure a cohesive, seamless IR platform. I think therefore it makes sense to locate fundraising and IR jobs in Luxembourg. And in addition, regulations are ever changing, as we all know, and all the entire internal team needs to be in sync with one another, and it really affects everyone in the value chain. And like I said, Luxembourg is nestled well within Europe, allowing you quick access to LPs in Europe. Obviously, we are assuming hopefully everything improves with regards to the pandemic, but it's very easy to jump on a plane and travel around Europe. I think the obstacle that I see is what I discussed earlier regarding Luxembourg, trying to attack top talent to move to Luxembourg, as I think it's broadly unknown business environment and definitely underrated.
So then we know in which direction we should look for the future. Great.
Absolutely.
And we will certainly use the Academy, Sacred Heart Partnership, and probably also University of Luxembourg in the future in order then to push forward the entire private equity, venture capital industries, and then also try to attract greater talents and great talents also to Luxembourg.
Yes.
On the value side, which values do you personally appreciate and respect, Aki?
That's a good question. I think for me, it has to be kind of strong work ethic. This includes kind of a willingness to work hard and efficiently, with an emphasis on dedication to produce high quality work. And it's kind of doing more than what is expected of you, kind of being accountable and also maintaining quality work relationships based on respect. Positive attitude is also, in my opinion, extremely important. And this has become more and more important along my career. I think maintaining positivity and enthusiasm, even when you're faced with challenges, helps to motivate others and creates goodwill. And it's a pleasant atmosphere to work in. And I think the other one is kind of you need to be motivated to grow and learn, regardless of where you are in your career. There will always be something to learn. You need to be interested in keeping up with the developments and knowledge in your field. I'm in an industry where things are changing on a regular basis. Regulation, ESG standards. So you need to be motivated and open to learn all the time, and open to new ways of doing things.
So people with ambitious plans, you know where to knock now. Yeah. And we certainly also like those values. I mean, the curiosity, the openness, the international sense, and also certainly to adapt whatever happens and to move on. Great. Yeah. What's the advice you would give to talents?
The things that helped me, and I wish I had this kind of earlier in my career, is, and it's very much kind of underrated, but get a mentor. This is crucial. If you can find a senior member within your firm to show you the ropes, that's great. But even finding someone in the same career field with more experience than you, will teach you valuable information about the industry as a whole, and you have a reference if you needed to. So really work on getting a mentor. And I think the other one is, make a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. And this isn't just to help you figure out where you want to be in 5 years' time, but more importantly, it's a detailed plan of how you're going to get there. Start with kind of where you want to be in 5 years, and then work your way back step by step. Realistic projects and complements you will need to achieve to get to where you want to be. And the other one, which was which is good advice that someone said to me early on in my career, is, don't wait until half yearly or yearly reviews to get feedback. Ask for ways that you can improve all the time from your peers and managers. It's crucial. You need to be improving all the time. And like I said, you're never too senior to be better at your job. There's always something that needs to improve.
Constant improvement. You're right, and it's always good to ask. That advice from senior people who could inspire you also. And on that note, do you have any specific leader or person who inspired you, motivated you to go down that path, to have that positive attitude?
In terms of a person, I really have to say it's personal. My mother, who has positively influenced my life. A role model of hard work, resilience, a never give up attitude, responsibility, accountability, ambitious, all of which I try to, take and learn from in my professional career.
And in order to finish, Aki, any great book, series, podcast, or music bands you would like to recommend to our audience?
I was given a book before I joined Alpha. It was called The First 90 Days, Proven Strategies for Getting Up to Speed Faster and Smarter. And it was actually a very interesting book to read. I would definitely recommend it. And, you don't really need to be moving to a new role in order for this book to be helpful. It gives you a step-by-step guide of how to promote yourself. And, I think they say that in your first 3 months in your new job, it will largely determine whether you succeed or fail. And the biggest pitfall people face is to assume that what has made you successful to this point in your career will continue to do so. But, you have to keep working for it. You have to secure early wins and, build that network within your team. So I found that really helpful. In terms of a series, I mean, in lockdown has given me a bit of time to watch a bit of Netflix. And I think the one documentary that I was glued to, and, a term that we say, binge watch, was the Michael Jordan's documentary called The Last Dance. For those of you who haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. And you really could apply everything in that documentary to business. The amount of, the hard work that he had to do, it wasn't natural talent. He had to work and work. He had a lot of struggles in his way. And it was great to see how he kind of psychs himself up before a game. And also he needs to find a reason, a motivation in order to win games. And he also, it's some interesting stories, like, for instance, his deal with Nike, where he wanted to, he wanted Adidas to pick him, but because it was the cool brand at the time, but his mom had forced him to go and take a meeting with Nike, and they offered him a £500,000 deal a year for 5 years, and gave his own signature brand, which is the Air Jordans. And after that, he still tried to go back and ask Adidas to match their offer, which they didn't. But 36 years later, he's now $1.3 billion richer with Nike, and so I think his mum did the right thing. And another thing of that documentary, which I found really interesting, was the coach himself, Phil Jackson, of how he had a group of players, all different personalities, and really, different ways of motivating themselves, where he had to deal with, some people who didn't want to train, but, are very good in games. And so he had to kind of gel that all together. And it was a good kind of learning curve for people who are managing teams, etc. But definitely would recommend that documentary.
Yeah, and Phil Jackson, for sure, one of the best coaches in the basketball history.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Aki, for all these insights, for these hints. I have not seen any question right now in the Q&A or chat. So again, that was wonderful, great exchange. I also think that what you mentioned is planning ahead your career is very important, should not only be based on luck or serendipity. I mean, sometimes it can certainly help, but if you plan ahead and then you have a vision, at least midterm, that should be helpful also for your career in the future.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's very encouraging to see what LPEA is doing for Luxembourg, for the industry. So well done to you and your team. Hope you carry on the
Thanks
good work.
a lot, Aki, and for all these compliments. And we will continue with the same energy. And also big kudos back to you.
Excellent. All right.
Then, thanks a lot for joining us today.